downtown revitalization and historic preservation. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Eric Darr. He's Executive Vice President of Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
So Harrisburg University of Science and Technology is also focusing on the past, but you're focusing on the future needs of your students. Talk to us about how all of this blends.
Correct. Well, if you remember, now being 10 years old and 6 years of having students, we've constructed a brand new building here in the city of Harrisburg, but with an incoming and growing size of students that come from distance 100 miles or 200 miles from the city, that creates a need, and that need is housing. And so what we've been able to do this past fall in our first housing building, and now a second building coming online for next fall, is the reuse of 100-plus-year-old buildings that were largely vacant here in the city and are now being reused.
Now, these two buildings, the Governor's Hotel and now the Kunkel building, are historic buildings in Harrisburg, but why reuse of these buildings rather than new construction? Well,
a couple reasons. One, preservation of buildings. The facades of the buildings, the bones, if you will, of the buildings are fantastic, and what they needed was some new internal work, new walls and wallpaper and carpets and those sorts of things. But the buildings themselves were perfectly valuable and terrific. They also happened to be right across the street from our academic center or right down the block. And so from a location perspective, it was perfect, and it was a great reuse of buildings, historic buildings here in the city.
Talk to us about these two buildings. The Governor's Hotel will house 74 students.
Well, Holt has a 74 today. It can hold perhaps as much as 90 students. And those are largely in triples and doubles in terms of suites. The Governor's Hotel is an interesting old hotel, once old hotel, and so these are not cinder block dorms. These are apartment-style suites that have kitchens and bedrooms and French doors and those sorts of things. So, and a common room for students to do activities. So that's the Governor's Hotel. And the Kunkel building will be the same sort of style, singles and doubles, apartment-style suites with full kitchens. And all told, between the two buildings, up to 180 students can live right here on Market Street in Harrisburg.
In addition to meeting the needs, the housing needs of students, you also have a focus on the future of the city. What will having an additional 180 or so students living in the downtown area mean for the city itself?
Well, and as we've talked before, Harrisburg University is about economic development, and so one of the aspects of having 180 students, besides the challenges that come with having those kinds of students all living together, teenagers all together, but is that they all bring thousands and thousands of dollars that they're going to spend on food and other items right here in the city. And so the opportunity for retail, food, and other sorts of businesses is tremendous that comes with hundreds of students.
And when we focus on all of this, you've engaged a developer at this point. Why is it important to look to the past to work toward the future?
Well, again, if we can preserve infrastructure and efficiently use what's already existing in the city, and for these two buildings, these were buildings that were both off the tax rolls. We're not contributing to the benefit of the city. Now with private development, we could have taken them over as a nonprofit, but we chose not to. We now, the developer now pays taxes back to the city, helps the city, the students help the city, the vendors in the city, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And we just have a few seconds left, but are there additional sites, additional buildings that the university may down the line look to utilize?
Well, one of the things that we were very interested in building is a gaming accelerator. That's a space to build gaming and new media companies. And so we're looking at other old buildings proximate to our academic center to place that. Again, that would be an interesting reuse and bring high-tech businesses into the city of Harrisburg.
Thanks so much for being with us. Come back, give us an update. Let us know how things are progressing.
Do that.
We've been talking with Dr. Eric Darr of Harrisburg University. I'm Jill Horner.